this everything matters approach that you have.
Yeah, what's your understanding of that?
When it comes to decisions, for example, land sequencing or spell sequencing, sometimes you want to play around days, sometimes you don't want to do that and actively play into days. There are different reasons for that. Realizing that these little differences can have big impacts.
It's accurate. So I treat every one of those decisions as they could be game-breaking. I play my land first, or I don't. Do I want to bait a daze? Do I want to dodge a daze? Stuff I can incorporate that gives the opponent an idea that I want them to have, because I have the opposite of that. Once you succeed doing that, you want to do it more. I'll give a small trick here. Don't tell anyone though.
Welcome to In Response, a Legacy podcast. Whether you're a dedicated player or just curious about Legacy, join us as we share ideas, discuss decks, and have some fun along the way.
So guys, today actually marks one special point in our, let's say, podcasting career. We have over 5 years of recording time at this point. And
Finally,
yes. And we have today our 100th episode. This is actually one big milestone, I would say, that is great to achieve at this point. So what do you think about that?
I gotta say, we actually had a lot of thoughts how to make this episode really, really special.
Yeah.
And we had so many ideas, going from make it a community episode, make it like a podcast episode with us three or something else.
Yeah.
We had a lot of ideas, but then we came down to this one special idea, and that I just hope you guys really like it.
Exactly. So we have one guest that we want to introduce now as part of this episode, and we're happy that he can join and celebrate with us for this episode. We have one, I want to say, like legacy format, vintage, and also dual commander format expert, and as of course none other than Andreas Petersen that I'm talking about, aka Ecobaronen. Welcome, thank you very much that you joined, and I hope that you're feeling great.
Oh, I'm feeling awesome. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Danish humor. So if Danes were hosting the podcast, they would go, oh, so we really wanted to do something cool and invite somebody special, but they couldn't make it. So here's Andreas. That would be Danish humor. So I was actually waiting for something like that. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I checked out some of you guys' work, and the passion is impossible to miss. So I'm happy to be here.
Wow, that's awesome. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So you already mentioned that you're tuning in from Denmark. I think you settled in Copenhagen, right?
Yeah, Copenhagen. Been living here most of my adult life, and trying to play cards about half of my life. So yeah, lots of a long path let me here to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And this is maybe we can start off a little bit on that, just maybe to explain a little bit. So you have, of course, your long-term background. You mentioned half of your life you spent with Magic. So of course we're curious to hear how it ended up to Magic. Was this always in a lot of people are doing this for childhood, let's say nostalgia, then they're coming back to that and start to get into the competitive scene. How did it actually go for you?
Yeah, I've always liked cards. When I was around 6 years old, I collected basketball cards. So that was big. And then I started playing the Pokemon TCG when that came. I did well in that game, qualified for the World Championship when I was 13. And at that time, Wizards of the Coast both owned Magic and Pokemon. And on the packs, Pokemon said up to 13, and Magic Pack said 13 plus. So it was like this natural path of, okay, I guess I'll play Magic when I'm 13, right? So yeah, I think that's just more or less how it came about. And I have not had any breaks. I've been playing, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I've been playing ever since. So that's, let's see, that's a lot of years. That's around 22 years. Yeah. So yeah, I fell in love with the game and kept at it.
Mm. Yeah. I guess it's for all of us actually at this point that we are really in love with the game.
Yeah, that's certainly true, but not taking a break is insane, to be honest. I mean, most of us have probably taken a break from the game, all right?
Yeah, at a certain point for sure. Yeah, I mean, you start off in the childhood and later on you
have a break because of like family situation or personal matters, and later on parties.
But at this point, you actually at this point you can do that full time.
Yeah.
Basically, this is Magic only. This is really impressive. I want to say. And but you mentioned that in your former life, basically, before you went into Magic, you always mentioned that you always worked a lot with people, basically.
Yes. So my previous work was basically helping kids who had a hard time, family who had a hard time, figuring out what's the best, like, oh, you can start at soccer practice, or you can do this, you can do that, or in the, like, politically, you can have this kind of financial support, so you can go and buy this, like, help tough family situations get the best out of the Danish system, basically. And I enjoyed that a lot, but it's obviously also very, like, it's taxing work. You get to see a lot of very rough realities. So at some point I decided to bet on myself and just see where that would take me. So obviously I have to pay some bills, and how does that look in 2020, late 2023 when I made that decision? And it's been an investment, but now it's paying off, and has been maybe for like 6 months. So yeah, it was like betting on myself, I would call it.
Wow, impressive. And I would also assume that based on the previous work, you also can apply some of the skills that you actually have gotten it to deal with now with coaching and so on, I guess.
Yeah, certainly. So this is not going to be an advertisement for coaching or anything, but I offer way more than Magic skills, right? I have this, what kind of life are we working with? And we have to fit stuff in based on, job, family situation, psychology, stuff like that. So I bring all of that together, and I think people quite like that.
Mm-hmm. Very
Wow,
well.
that's awesome.
I have to say it's really impressive. And yeah, so now basically coming back to Magic, you always in picturing yourself, of course. You're now kind of a standalone content creator at this point, and I just want to know, how are your buddies doing that you also had a long time experience with, which is Michael Bonda and Thomas Enervoldsen, right? So you like kind of this Danish trio that you a lot of times played together and had a lot of experience also.
Yeah, that's good. That's that's two of my very best friends, but life takes you different places when it comes to priorities. Thomas is very busy with work. Michael moved to more or less the countryside and is building a family there. So it's a lot about priorities. They like the newer format. They love the Pro Tour. I don't necessarily love the Pro Tour. It's fun to try, but I have passion for older formats. So our paths kind of changed a little bit. So we just check up on each other every now and again, but we're no longer on the same journey, I would say. But we have a lot of cool memories together. The Team GPs, Team Pro Tours, the Super Leagues on YouTube. Those were also amazing. So they helped me become the player I am today, because I was certainly the worst one out of the three, but you just pick up like a sponge. You also know this. When you have a friend who's like an expert on something, you pick it up. And then before you know it, you're also an expert, right? But you had fun while doing it. That's the whole point of it, right? We want to have fun while we get better. We don't want it to feel like hard work. And when you play with two of your best friends, just sitting there every Saturday, sharing screen, playing the same tournaments, helping each other out with plays, you just organically get better. So that's one of my best pieces of advice that I can give. Share the knowledge and share the journey with somebody, because it's not always easy to be a lone wolf.
Yeah, I totally see this. I mean, it's awesome when you're friends who share a hobby.
You do this podcast, just one guy. It's not the same, right?
Nah, and it's also not fun actually, because it's so much work, and it's better to simply split it up.
Yeah.
And
exactly. The social aspect of Magic, we can never take that out of it. So I love playing online, obviously, but I love the interactions and the friendships and the Discord calls and the meeting up at Eternal Weekend and all of that stuff. It's the same, right, as going to the LGS. I don't do that anymore, but it's the same kick I get out of it socially. Those friendships are unbeatable.
Oh, why don't you go to an LGS anymore?
Priorities as everything. So I'm very, very, you can say I'm good at it or bad at it, but I care a lot about the detail about planning my life. So I make everything work. I oftentimes play at the middle of the night and like sleep 4 hours, play 5 hours, sleep 4 hours. And like I care about Magic more than the average person. So I plan a lot, and it's a lot about logistics and making sure I can get all the stuff done I want. And then some sacrifices have to be made.
Well, that's certainly a huge step over ourselves, to be honest, because we love the game.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure every one of us doesn't live for the game.
Yeah. And I think that's there's nothing, there's not an incorrect way to do it. But a lot of guys will be like, yeah, I'm a grinder. I'm a grinder. And then we get to talk a little bit and they're like, oh, okay, you're a grinder. I'll find another word for me, right? There's layers to the dedication to the game, and that's totally fair. I have understanding, and that's cool about Magic. You can play it once a month and, what's a Tarmogoyf? Or you can play it every day like me. You can do, and all of the different formats, et cetera. There's so many flavors of Magic to enjoy, and that's part of what makes the game so great, in my opinion.
You also said you learned a lot from your better friends.
Yeah.
I think it's also one of the best ways to simply get better at the game, to learn from people that you think are better at playing Magic. Therefore, I really love it when I get paired against Daniel, because in my opinion, Daniel is an awesome player and I always learn something from him.
Yeah.
Also against Peter, but Peter doesn't play that much, so it's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I totally agree, but there's still a lot of, let's call it, pride or ego in Magic. So who's really better than me? And like, you also need to have confidence at the same time. So what's a good balance between being a sponge when you're around better players and then not underestimating yourself? I think it's quite tough to navigate, because the worst thing you want to do is when there's a mismatch. You don't want to underestimate yourself. You certainly don't want to overestimate yourself either, right? But I think once you kind of nail it and you're humble and confident, I think that's where you want to be in Magic. That's the best place.
Wow. That's a great takeaway here.
Yeah. Everybody take notes. Who would say? That's actually good. So we can then, let's say, start with coming at the first topics. We already deep diving. This is great. So at this point, we mentioned that you're a full-time content creator, YouTuber. You have your Metaphor, you have your barony kind of, you have your followers and Discord. It's very worth it to check it out, by the way.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Always room for more barons. It's a huge barony, and we don't mind sharing power over there.
Yeah, and I can say that I can say that from first-hand experience, because I'm also part of that. So I am not making this up just for this episode or something like that. So I can really confirm that.
Paid actor.
Exactly. It's part of a special plan, though.
Not sponsored, but would be sponsored by.
That also applies to any kind of major corporation.
But maybe as you all framed that all just in your own terms, I think you mentioned it a couple of times. You consider yourself, I think, a legacy format expert, right?
Yeah.
And how would you define that, like in short terms?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, especially in these days with, changes and no changes to the format and stuff, people like to put labels on a lot of stuff. And that's not my favorite thing to do, because you can oftentimes hurt people. If I say I'm a legacy specialist and somebody says they're a lifelong legacy enjoyer, you can always come up with that stuff. So for me, it's about caring about the competitive side of it. So I'll play what I think gives me the best chance to win the tournament. I don't have any taste when it comes to decks. I'm just here for the competition. So that kind of sets me apart from somebody who loves I have a friend, I'm not going to name him. He bought a beta Taiga. So he played lands for 15 years, through every metagame. He just wanted to play with that beta Taiga. That's another kind of love for the game, right? This is like choosing your path and then making the most of it, which is also totally cool. So I'm a tournament specialist with pro background who cares just about winning. And then it's lucky for me, I have fun when I'm trying to win. I also have fun when I lose, but I have fun trying to win. That's the whole point. So Magic is just enjoyable every time. I can lose my next 20 matches. I'll be having the time of my life, wishing my opponent the best of luck and having a good time over what they managed to do at the table. So I kind of play Magic as a spectator. It's a win-win every time I play. It's just an enjoyment. It's the best thing I know in the world. So it kind of sets me apart that I'm not I don't want to have positive emotions when I play Magic. It's the best thing ever. So I don't know. I'm an expert because I care so much is the best answer I can give you. That makes me an expert.
It's interesting actually that you mentioned that, because I actually have a question to that.
Yeah.
On one hand, I think caring in that sense is often what I think makes it for people difficult when they want to cope with, for example, dealing with losses.
Yeah.
Especially. So how do you set yourself apart with that feeling? Let's say the feel bad, okay, now I lost. And, winning is always considered, of course, a great thing. And you're also here for that.
Yes.
But how do you, let's say, keep the emotion away from losing while you still care?
Yeah. I think it's maybe the love and the passion for the game is not connected to how well I do. Maybe I thought about this the other day, and it sounded a bit arrogant when I had the thought in my head, but now I'm going to say it out loud and let's see if it works. So maybe it's because I'm doing so much winning that I don't feel like I need to do it anymore. Maybe that's it. And now I'm kind of just playing with house money and having the time of my life. Maybe that's what makes it a bit easier for me to have that mentality. Because 15 years ago, I would also play against some guy at the LGS. I knew I was way better, but his cards beat my cards or whatever. So that was like, I can't believe I lost to that guy. I would be sitting there on McDonald's with my friends and complaining. Like, I've been through all of that, right? It's development. So I think I just focused a lot on making the journey enjoyable. And the journey is not affected by wins or losses. The main reason these days why I talk a lot about wins and losses is to pay my bills, which is, just to be fair about that, I'm not a better player because I had a run recently. I top-8 8 Legacy Challenges in a row. But that didn't make me any better than now that I went 0-2 twice in a row. I didn't get worse, right? But I needed to talk about that so that I could pay more bills, right? It's so for me, improvement is a lot different to results, is basically what I'm trying to say. I'm very pure when it comes to that. You can play perfect Magic, go 1-3, or you can miss a ton of things and still top 8 the tournament. So I've tried all of that. So maybe it's because I've seen all sides of the coins, and I'm in a luxurious spot to just be happy with the journey.
Yeah, to pick it up a little bit from that point where you said like, yeah, you're not a better player when you go 0-2 or you go top 8, at least from your perspective or for you personally.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of discussion currently online, like evaluating decks and stuff like that. You don't really have to look at top 8 or expand it a little bit because it's 4-2, 3-3, 6-0. Doesn't really matter because it's all the same.
It's close margins, for sure. People also talk about good matchups, bad matchups. Everything for me is between 40-60. And then when it's that close to a coin toss, I like my chances against anybody. So I just stopped thinking about that a long time ago. I just want to win this game in front of me. I don't care what some spreadsheet says about, oh, this is a 43% matchup. How will he ever overcome that? Like, it's just a mindset thing. So there's a lot of stats available, but I actually don't care too much about it. I care about the top 8s. That's like what I care about. Because that's what I get the rush from. Somebody gets to go home and somebody gets to play more Magic. So I want to play more Magic. That's why I want to get into the top 8, right?
This is cool motivation.
Yeah, that's my motivation. I play Magic so I can play more Magic. Whether I want to qualify for something, I want to win that so I can put a big red cross on my calendar, and I know 3 months from now I'm playing this tournament. So I play Magic to get to play more Magic.
So you are the guy that never IDs?
No, because then I get to play more Magic, right? Automatically in paper. If I in the last round, then I get to play the top 8, which could lead me even further, right? So and there I'll do it because I maybe get to play 3 more matches.
So, yeah, that's one way to see it for sure.
I'll certainly ID if it's strategic. Again, it's about maximizing my way to the first place of the tournament. So decisions like that have to be made for sure.
Exactly. And I think as we now speak about it, this is one topic. I had it actually at the end, but I'm pulling it now a little bit because it makes sense. We have the topic on, as it fits perfectly here, result-oriented thinking overall.
Yeah.
Like there is one stance. Of course, you can think about, well, not strictly speaking about finishes here. Also, when it comes to in-game decisions, right? Or sideboarding decisions or anything against the matchup. I don't know, you had a situation where you play against lands with a control deck and you I don't know, cantripped for one of your blood moons or anything, you hard-hitting cards against the deck, but then you got hit against Dark Depth, for example, and then you thought, oh, maybe I should have pondered for Sotzeblausches or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you actually see yourself on that spectrum? This is maybe one part, like results versus feelings, or statistics even.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the question is very good. So it's the same logic here. If something worked, it doesn't mean it was the right play. If something did not work, it doesn't make it a wrong play. So what you need to do is you have to work on your awareness. So you need to know everything that can happen. You need to know how many Force of Vigors or lands playing to kill this Blood Moon, for example. You need to know that number with your study of the format, with your experience. Then you need to know the likelihood based on what happened in this game. Could they have that left in hand with how they played? Do I have any clues about what's in their hand? And so you need to know what can happen, and you need to know the likelihood of that happening. So that would be some napkin math of, oh, I lose to the nuts. I lose if the Oops player has turn 1 kill with double pack backup. Like we take our hand any day of the week, right? Turn 1, I don't know, double forced hand, I guess. So that's going to be good enough the vast majority of the time. So whether the opponent had the exact nuts lined up right there does not make your keep bad. So it's a lot about evaluating. But with that comes also, you need to be very mature and very honest, because you can easily just say everything is just, oh, I made perfect decision, I just got crushed, right? It can also be a cop-out. So you need to be very honest, but that comes with being very serious about improving. So if you really want to improve, you will always be honest in your evaluation. You will question, you'll talk to your buddies or your coach or your, testing group or whatever the case may be. I made this decision. What do you feel about it? And then it doesn't matter if it worked out or not. That's not really interesting. It's interesting the info we had at the time of the decision, not what transpired. That is an anecdote compared to the time we had to make the decision. So that's how I think a lot about the game. I question myself a lot when I win, because I want to play, could I have won even more? It sounds serious. It sounds kind of silly, but could I have slammed the door? Or did I let my opponent get lucky? Did I leave something up to chance? So I'll always try and strive for that perfection. And I can't say I succeed doing that, but that's what I'm striving for. That's the main thing. So striving for perfection is good, but realizing you can never get there is also very important.
Wow. I'm pretty sure most people fall into the category that that you mentioned, that they don't thinking about how their wins actually played out.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I won, it doesn't matter anymore. And only think about the losses.
Yes.
But really thinking about the wins, how it could have gone wrong, for example.
Yeah,
is a
great example.
really great way.
The other part of that is, if you realize why you won, you are building good habits for yourself. So if you can highlight, so when I watch replays in my coaching sessions, player will show me a game, and I'm like, yeah, this brainstorm, you having this foresight, shuffling away these cards and setting this up, this is where you turned the game. Like, this is where the average player would not make this play, and then the game is, still up for grabs, but this was like the deal breaker. Then they want to repeat that. Then we're just like, we want to repeat good things. We want to avoid doing the same mistake twice. It's the same psychology. It's just the reverse order, right? So I build good habits, and that's very, 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 very useful in Magic. Build good habits so you're more likely to repeat them. And then you're going to get better results, and it's going to be a dynamic moving forward instead of, I made a mistake again, or this deck sucks, or whatever. So all of those emotions in the opposite direction is what I stand for.
Yeah, for a long time, for me personally, I had quite a problem, I would say, with wanting to completely lock the game, because I tried to play around every single card possible. But sometimes it needed me to give like 1-2 turns to my opponent, which would give him way more outs even.
Yeah, this is actually the first thing I think about is playing Doomsday in Vintage. There's so many cards that you have to worry about post Doomsday, but you cannot worry about everything, but you should worry about as many as you can possibly, right? So that's like, at some point we have to, you cannot not put Ancestral on top, then I might get Ragavand. I might have to use Gush because of Mental Misstep, but then that will get crushed by Vexing Bauble. So what do we do here? Like, all of these different restricted cards you have to play around. And at some point you have to realize, just like you did, you cannot play around everything. So we have to eliminate the most likely scenarios, and then we have to live with the result and hope that it's good short term, but we know that it's good long term. So it's like a good habit we're building, or a good, if this happens 10 times, we succeed 8 times, and that's good enough. And then 2 out of 10, the opponent will get there this time. But it was still a good play. That's the whole, I take pride in the good play. I would much rather play perfectly and lose than make a ton of mistakes and win. So that's kind of a...
like not get punished kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm like a blindfolded boxer and I make 100 oversights, but I still win because I was luckier than my opponent, that doesn't really feel like a win for me. I want to play great. That's the thing.
But I guess the challenging part still would be if the wrong outcome is happening, to really realize, okay, I still made the correct play.
Yeah.
Because I think this is challenging for a lot of people, I would say.
Yeah.
But this is something to...
And it's good because then you're being nice to yourself as well, right? It's good to have a nice, I think I did a pretty good play. This was unlikely to happen. I would make this play again. Okay, well, good games. We go next. It's more, we're not quitting Magic tomorrow, right? So there's a long time to to make up for it, and it's a sample size, long timeline.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe on that topic then. This is basically what sums up, I would say, almost this everything matters approach that you have.
Yeah.
Almost. Meaning that...
Yeah, what's your understanding of that? Because you've basically just heard me say it in passing or got the idea. Like, how do you interpret that?
Yeah, so I would actually interpret that way. So when it comes to decisions in a game of Magic, I would say, for example, land sequencing or spell sequencing, when you have multiple options. Of course, in a lot of situations, for example, it doesn't matter whether you play your land first before you cast a specific spell or not. And not realizing that these little differences, for example, sometimes you want to play around days with making a land trap before you cast a spell. Sometimes you don't want to do that and actively play into days. Or let's say there are different reasons for that. Realizing that these small differences that I guess some players or a lot of players are just, maybe only thinking about the overall bigger spell or picture or whatever they want to do, rather than realizing, okay, these little differences in fetching first, attacking first, whatever, can have big impacts over the long term when they are added up over time. Yeah, it's how I would see it.
Yeah, it's accurate. So I treat every one of those decisions as they could be game breaking, or make or break the game. So I want to apply a big importance to, I play my land first, or I don't. You said some good examples here. Do I want to bait a daze? Do I want to dodge a daze? What kind of impression do I want to give my opponent? And I think about that a lot. Stuff I can incorporate that gives the opponent an idea that I want them to have, because I have the opposite of that, or I want them to prioritize something. So I care a lot about setting up traps in the game, and it's a pretty cool way to think about the game, because exactly like the other things we talked about, once you succeed doing that, you want to do it more. It's like, wow, this is not just the cards playing against each other and how they line up. This is me like manipulating the game. It's like, I don't know, bluffing in poker or some body language at a paper tournament, or there's a lot of stuff there that I enjoy going into. So yeah, I treat every decision with high, very, very high seriousness, I guess.
Just one point that I want to raise up for you, because you mentioned poker and bluffing.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with? I think it is mostly applicable, or only applicable actually, in paper Magic. There's the so-called pen trick.
Never
heard that?
Never heard.
Effect. So it basically means. I mean, this is what I want to get your opinion on, maybe, or also you guys. So the idea would be, your opponent is attacking you, and you actually have some interaction. The best prime example would be, for example, you play against Infect, and they attack you with their Glistener Elf or whatever.
Yes.
And then you pick up your pen to write down your life totals, indicating, okay, they don't have like a combat trick.
Yes.
But that bluffing, and then maybe they leading that the opponent actually goes for pump spell kill, and then you actually have the removal spell.
Yeah.
So psychological tricks like this is kind of a pen trick that you can apply to already grab, okay, now I'm taking one infect, but I think it's maybe can be a psychological thing. I don't know if it also go against the direct of angle shooting. I have no idea, but I just want to throw that on the table. How do you think about these kind of things?
I can go first on that topic. I think body language, that's a big part of how I prepare with players for paper tournaments. So this could be, I'll give a small trick here. Don't tell anyone though. So you have a one-lander with a Tamiyo and a Brainstorm in paper, those 3 cards and 4 other spells. You really don't want to get wastelanded. Turn 1, right? That would be horrendous. But you want to play the Tamiyo first, not the Brainstorm, because you want to, flip it and get into the game. So what you want to do is you want to act like you're deciding between 2 cards, that Underground Sea and another card. So you want to give the impression you're thinking about these 2 lands. Then you want to play the Underground Sea and play the Tamiyo. You kind of place the idea to the opponent that you have an additional land. So why would you wasteland somebody who has land number 2 and an active Tamiyo, right? So they do something else. They develop their board or cast a Cantrip or whatever. So this is a way to get into turn 2 without getting wastelanded on a one-lander with Tamiyo and Brainstorm. And then from there, hopefully you can, play a normal game. So that's just one thing. I have a lot of tricks like that where it's just the body language. Like on Magic Online, you can do some other things, but in paper, it's mainly your body language, how you handle your cards. You talk about a pen, somebody lays down their hand, somebody's arranging 2 lands on top of each other, signaling, I don't know, Bowmaster, or separating their Tundras from the other land to signal a plow, or whatever the case may be, a counterspell for Modern. All of this stuff is part of the game, and if you can incorporate that while also playing great Magic, that's where I recommend it. I don't recommend it if you get lost in your shenanigans and you forget how to play normal Magic, right? So, but it's certainly something you can add to your arsenal and get some percentages.
Yeah, I mean the most public or the most famous version of the pen trick was basically the token from LSV.
Yeah,
I would say in game 5 or something like that. Yeah, it's something that belongs to paper Magic. I mean, in as you mentioned, poker, there is like the fake all-ins and stuff like that. The tails that you want to build into your games.
Yeah,
you have that in Magic as well, and yeah, it's more for the bigger stages. I would say for the better players most of the time, because a lot of players struggle with how should I play the game.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean when I say you need to add that on top of playing solid Magic. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna make a million traps and make shenanigans, and then you forget how to actually strategically play normal Magic. Then you need to add it as a what do you call it? Something on the top. What's it called? Cherry on top.
Yeah. But I guess on the other way around, though, for having good when it comes to paper Magic, it's good to pick up when your opponent is making not really bluffs, and that you're bluffing, but for example, when you're casting a spell and your opponent thinking hard, okay, that probably means they have a Days of Force or something like that. So I guess picking up on this kind of signs, at least in the first level, is already good.
Yeah, that's exactly, you said it, the perfect word here. That's the first level. And I would say 9 out of 10 players that you will face at a paper tournament will have their hands full just playing, and thinking about the most complex game in the world, right? So yes, picking up on that is great. And then on the other side, if I was coaching that player, I would help them know the matchup so well that you don't have to think about a card if you want to daze a card. You simply just know, because you know the matchups. You already decided when you pass the turn. So you don't give away any tells when you have the daze, because you already know what you're going to do. So that's the preparation part of it. But I also understand most Magic players are busy, and then they just show up on for Saturday, and then they, want to take their time, and it's different levels of the game, right?
Yeah, and also differences in decks, because for me personally, it's way easier to, or how I can say it, I am way more experienced with combo decks.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's way easier for me to bluff, to set traps, and making the correct play to simply get some kind of edge out of my opponent. And when I'm playing control or tempo or something, it's so insanely complicated, and I totally get even to play good Magic.
Yes. And that's the perfect example also why practicing matters, being a deck expert matters. Lots of guys think they can just go to Goldfish and copy paste the 75 and then all of a sudden they'll be winning tournaments. But in reality, it's the same players doing well, either who are just have a lot more practice or somebody who has mastered decks over time. I do my metagame videos, and it's oftentimes the same names that do well with, let's say, Sneak and Show or Lance or Painter, like these deck experts. It's no coincidence that it's those guys doing well and not somebody who just picked it up.
Yeah. I mean, also with going through the eras a little bit, because like you mentioned Painter, a lot of the deck changed over the last 2-3 years, transitioning more from the mid-range version with Welder and Engineer to a more stompy version with Paragoyfs and stuff like that. It's also like evolving the players a lot and changing up with how what the format gives you, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you will naturally
in the deck, I guess.
Adjusting, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're all kind of for good and for bad. We are at the mercy of what cards are getting printed. Sometimes our favorite deck becomes better, sometimes our favorite deck becomes worse. So yeah, things evolve over time, and it's I think it's beautiful, but it's also because I don't necessarily love like a certain card to an extent where I'm sad if it's not the best thing to be doing anymore. So I guess I'm kind of sheltered from that, but it is pretty. I think it's cool. I like it when they print powerful cards and somebody wants them to slow down and Legacy to be something else. I think it's fascinating how you prefer it to play out, but I think it's not the best use of my time. I just try and play what's legal.
Makes sense. And I wanted to talk about this, and one aspect for sure we tackled already, which is kind of the comparison between Magic Online and paper Magic.
Yeah.
So we basically covered one aspect for sure, which is kind of this body language situation, which is completely not the case online. Is there something else that you think is, when you maybe practice a lot online and then you come to a paper tournament, say Eternal Weekend, what to watch out for?
Yeah.
And you just play a lot of online Magic.
Yeah, that would be me in 2023. I went to Prague, and at that point I hadn't played Paper Legacy in 5 years. And I thought I could go there and play Doomsday and Vintage. And I was certainly wrong, because online I can take 8 minutes, I can sit in my underwear, I can text my mom and then finish my pile. But at that paper tournament, there's judges. If I spend more than like 1 minute, I don't have the full visual view. I looked like somebody who just started playing Magic at that tournament, which was a big eye-opener for me. So the logistics of handling the cards is different than also remembering triggers. This was a big one when I traveled to the US the same year. When I played Lures, Mirrors, and Vintage, I just said to my opponent, hey, this is going to be a long one in this mirror. Let's just shortcut like all the bauble triggers and fetches, and like, let's make sure we finish in time, because time is a real thing. Like there are too many draws in paper Magic because people are slow. Judging is not really enforced. Because in reality, if you go to your next local event and I spectate some matches, I would guess a lot of them are actually slow playing if we go by the, let's say, professional standard. But there's also this social aspect of, hey, calling a judge is, not the best thing to be doing. Like there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I would be very, very focused on maneuvering with the cards, establishing with the opponent when we can kind of shortcut. If you go like Polluted Delta, you just go Volcanic Island, Chandler, your turn. Like while I shuffle, they take their turn. Like I want to establish that with my opponent in paper. Delayed triggers, just put a hand on my deck, say pass, draw from the bauble. Like a lot less mechanic, but fluent, so we finish our matches. But you need to establish that with your opponent. Like you need to be on the same page. So you can also not Google your opponent. A lot of players, when playing online, they will research, what did my opponent play last? So I'll do this, of course. But if you're practicing for a paper tournament, that's not the best, right? Because then all of a sudden you're playing in the dark, and you have no idea like how to evaluate your hand because you don't have any history from that player, right? So I learned this when I was testing for the Pro Tour. I would always draft with my cards minimized on Magic Online, like all the way to the bottom, because at the Pro Tour, you can't look at the cards you draft. You can only do that between packs. So when I practiced online, I would like minimize my pool basically, and then look between packs. So it's a lot about, you should try and mimic your practice to the event you're practicing for.
So more paper testing for paper tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. Or let's say you're playing against a friend online. You shouldn't tell your friend like the exact list, or one of you should play like a stock list from online. Like if you both play your brews or your specific versions against each other, that matchup is not super useful for how that tournament is going to go. At that point, it's just having fun and playing casually with a friend, which is also fun. But it's not testing. It's hanging out and having a good time, right? So it's trying to mimic it in the different ways. I think but on Magic Online, then you can play against strangers, right? So that's a way to mimic that aspect. So yeah, you have to mimic it as the best you can.
Probably a good mix of both is maybe a good
way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So it's mainly just that, let's say you three guys, you probably have your favorite decks, right? And you're going to some of the same tournaments. Let's say, oh guys, let's play test on Sunday. It would be a lot more useful for you guys to have like a gauntlet of stock Reanimator, stock Prison, Moderate Prison, stock Land, stock Mystic Forge, and then like take turns playing the field and playing your deck, then just jamming your deck against each other is just what I'm saying.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we already tried this. I think, when did we prepare the last time for a big
last weekend?
Was it on the weekend?
Yeah.
Where we had like the top 5, top 6 decks.
Yeah.
At least built out, and
that sounds like the way to do it for sure. That's what I would do if I was practicing for a tournament like that. And then just take turns scratching each other's back and be playing the field, then try and evaluate a little bit afterwards. Obviously, it's hard to be an expert with those decks, right? So we have to take that into account as well. It's hard to say like, oh, I beat Philip 7-1. He played Mystic Forge. He had no idea what he was doing though, but hey, I 7-1 the guy.
So pretty confident.
Well, that could happen when I'm playing Mystic Forge. So
yes. So there's a lot about that, staying honest when you're evaluating as well, and sample size and all of that. We need a lot of nuance, a bit more nuance than the average social media scroll will tell us.
Yeah, and I'm also pretty sure that you also can learn a lot from the other side of the game. Yep. Basically, if you're playing Reanimator against your deck, then you're suddenly sitting in the opposing seat basically, and you think about the lines that your opponent might get through during the next tournament. Yep. So that's also a huge thing to look out.
Yeah, it's all a matter of resources, right? If you have a lot of time, I will always suggest that you go and learn more decks. But then again, it's a resource thing, right? I learned this when I played Modern like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it just seemed like every deck I played against was just better than mine. So I just started playing those decks, and then you start realizing, oh, it has this flaw and that flaw. I didn't see that because he just crushed me, right? So it adds a lot of nuance to how you see different decks. So if you have the time and the opportunity to do so, it's cool to, play some different stuff, just trying it out, see how it feels.
Yeah, sometimes we have with a guy at our LGS where we test basically with open hands, talking about every single decision in the deck. It also makes you question like every line from the one deck and from the deck that you are currently playing on. It's quite taxing from a mind perspective, but you learn for both sides of the picture, basically.
Yeah, this I think this is a very good exercise, because sure, there's something about how cards line up, but there's also this cards that have impact on the game when they're not in the hand. So it's hard to you have to respect days, but we play with open hands and it's not there. So you kind of have to count that risk or that kind of have to count that in at some point. Oh, Wasteland is another card. Bowmasters is another card. Force of Will or not. So then you have to be honest in what you would do in the dark when you're evaluating, because otherwise that exercise loses its purpose, right? So it's like a lot of other things in life. It's a great tool if you're used correctly, right?
Yeah, you have to factor in my opponent has like days like 90% of the time, and we talk like, okay, we have like 3 different 1-drops that we can cast. We have 1 2-drop. We really don't want to cast the 2-drop because we are playing into days. But what are the upsides on like the Brainstorm or the Swords of Plowshares at this point? If there is Orcish Bowmasters where no Orcish Bowmasters is in hand, for example, it's like, as you said, like talking about like every single thing.
Yeah.
Kind of everything matters.
That's high level. That's high level Magic, is knowing exactly what can happen and then processing it fast enough to come up with a good solution for it. So it's all about uncovering all of that while, not getting a judge called on you or whatever. Like, so you need to do it fast. That's basically what high level Magic is about. Because if you're not on that level, you'll miss something or you'll, think too fast or act too fast. And so, that's a good way to put it. Uncovering all scenarios.
That's really something that I realized that I struggle with, is not processing fast enough sometimes. Yeah. Especially in paper Magic, because I'm also a guy, I try to evaluate every possible situation, but I guess at some point, especially in paper Magic, you have to balance the time it takes for me to process and the just advancing and doing. Some people just basically play out of their hips, basically just out of feel. And if you have a good intuition, you also can be a good player without thinking about it. I'm less that. I need to think a little bit on my lines a little bit more.
Me too.
But I find it sometimes really strugglesome to. Yeah, I want to have that intuition. I'm not sure if you can learn it. I guess practice helps. And
it's interesting. I have one friend who I think is just very, very strong intuitive player. I think he could roll out of bed and play at a world-class level in any format, which is insane. But then almost anybody else, you need to have the practice, the understanding, the knowing even like the ban list or the matchups or the deck lists, and then once you know that, you've seen enough similar stuff before. Oh, this is a red aggressive deck, or oh, this is a controlling deck, or this is a mid-range deck, and then what word did you use? You didn't say. Did you say intuition? Yeah, intuition. But I guess intuition is just based on the amount of experience, right? So at that point, you will get 9 out of 10 gut feeling decisions right. But I'm certainly not that, so I also need to practice hard to be on top of the game. But I find it fun. I think it's a fun struggle, so to speak. So maybe, I don't know, do you find it fun, or do you get demotivated, or like, because you're obviously striving for perfection in those scenarios, but you can't get perfection. So how do you deal with that once you quote unquote fail?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to throw in a little bit of a poker term again. Do you know GTO, Game Theory Optimal?
No.
It's basically the poker strategy where you play, like, if you play perfect, you will win. Basically, you factor in, like, whatever your opponent does, I'll do exactly this because my EV after...
Yeah, mathematically, like just following the solvers, like, pretty often.
Yeah, exactly. And so for Magic, your approach is kind of the same. Like, my opponent can do this and this and this and that.
Yes.
He has like one of this card, 2 of these. So like, if I can eliminate a few of those choices, my most EV play is like kind of this.
Yeah, and the reason why I do that is my average opponent does not play at the same level as me. If they did, I would have to rethink my strategy, but they don't, so I can use the strategy you just said, right? That's like it becomes a leveling at some point. So let's say I play against, what's the Italian guy's name? Angelo Cadei. Are you familiar with that guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I played against him in a blue-black mirror at some point, and I made a play against him with a Thoughtseize that I would not do against other players. Well, some, but not a lot. I left him with a Baragoyf in hand because I knew he would think I have a daze since I let him keep that card. But if I play against somebody I don't know, I'm going to take the Baragoyf because they might just slam it and I lose to the card. So I left him with the Baragoyf because I gave him the credit and I know he will give me the credit. So that's when I kind of switched up on the logic you just said. So it is like poker. You go to Vegas, you play against some rich guys, you crush them with your strategy, but now you play TV poker against somebody, on your own level. Then you have to mix it up, right? So it's very, very comparable.
There's a good skill set because you mentioned it. It's basically, how did you call it? Yeah, your avatar kind of, and you're playing against individually opponents, and you adjust your play style, also your decisions and how you play it against.
It's very dynamic. Magic is not a solved game at all. Magic is a game that is, well, even now how we play Brainstorm, right? When I played at my store 12 years ago, when I was telling the new guys how to play Brainstorm, I certainly didn't say, yeah, remember to play turn 1 before the opponent untaps and have 2 mana for a Bowmaster. Just play turn 1, buddy. Do that. I said that was terrible. We need to take our draw, cast a good main phase Brainstorm, see as deep as possible, have a fetch land, value town, right? But these days we cast Brainstorms at weird times, like our own end step when they fetch a Surveil and tap down from a Bowmaster, or their upkeep to try and force a fight with our days back up. So Magic is very, very dynamic how that works. So whenever people ask me for like hard rules or like, who's the aggressor in this matchup? Well, maybe 65% of the time it's this deck, but don't worry about that. Just play the game and see where it goes. Like, there's no point in these rules when any unique game can be in front of you. So sure, you can have some like rules of thumb, but I always tell people I've never won a tournament where I didn't break those. So you can take that as you wish. You need to break those rules in order to get ahead of the other average opponent.
Yeah, I just want to jump into this one because I have like a very opposing example here.
Yeah.
I think it was 2021 or 2022 where Marc-Eric Vogt qualified for a top 8 in the, how was it called? The Mana Traders Opens in Legacy, where he qualified to top 8, and the top 8 was being played on the next day.
Yeah.
And he tested the whole night basically against the deck list of his opponent in the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinal matchup, yeah.
And the matchup was previously thought horrendous, but they just found out it only matters about one card, and they could turn the matchup around. So there it was possible to line up the match or the game to go a predefined way. Is it not possible anymore currently, or does it sometimes happen now?
So about that scenario, so I could either start challenging the point or I could take your word for it, right? So I'll just say that there's certainly more to it than meets the eye, but it's good to have like, oh, this is a key card. This can swing the game. This wins the game 70% of the time it hits the field. I should take that into account when mulliganing, pondering, or whatever. That can certainly happen. It's just very important to realize it's just part of what can happen. But if you only focus on one thing, I can't really remember that ever being a thing. But I hear a lot of people trying to simplify the game to that extent. I don't personally believe in it. So that could be to my detriment, but I don't believe in like one thing is true. I get the job done in weird ways when I play. So I think I used a Harbinger to mana fix the other day, for example, so I could cast like Murktide off of a Wasteland and like nothing that I never drew up, but it came up that unique scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I just believe in finding the unique scenarios over trying to plan, because things don't go as planned, like on a bigger sample size anyway.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think a lot of people picking up decks, especially when they're new, and thinking, okay, now I have my strategy, my deck, and I should focus on my strategy of my deck all the time. And obviously you get frustrated when it's not turning out to be the case. And then handling
it's good to have a script, but it's also, we also go off script because the reality forces us to do it, right? That's why Magic is dynamic. I don't believe it's solved at all.
Because you brought up Brainstorm and the heuristics.
Yeah, that's the word. That's Magic player's favorite word.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So, what is your approach to cantripping, especially in Legacy?
So, cantrips are part of your deck building. Cantrips are a part of your mana base. Cantrips are part of your threat base, answers. It's like a fraction of your categories in your deck. If you could, you would just play the best cards on curve. Then cantrips would be obsolete, right? If you just have the card you need, cantrips are bad, right? So they're there for consistency sakes. You can keep 1 landers. You can keep 5 landers with a Brainstorm. You can find your 2 off sideboard card more often. So it's like mathematically smart deck building for fair decks, that is. And then for unfair decks, it's of course like semi-tutoring, seeing a percentage of your deck to find, what do I know, Lionside Diamond or Entomb or Cephalid Illusionist more often, right? So it's more than, it's just, for instance, when I play Dual Commander, I don't play any cantrips because it's better to play your stuff on curve to impact the board in my Jeskai deck. So I don't play Brainstorm or Preordain or whatever. I want to impact the board with either removal spells or creatures. But for Legacy, it's like a necessary evil between blue count, running low land count, finding your sideboard cards, keeping 1-landers, keeping 5-landers and stuff. So it's consistency cards for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in deck building, you evaluate like the card as a fraction of like, it can be this, it can be that.
Yeah.
So you don't really evaluate it in-game as a tutor for a card, or how do you evaluate the card in-game?
Yeah, so in-game, it can be part of what makes my opening hand keepable. Let's say I play against, let's just say, a deck where I need Force Tool turn 1. Let's say Oops All Spells. Then, if I have a Ponder or Brainstorm, I get to look at this many more cards, and I have to hold that up against going for a mulligan, right? So sometimes that can be the difference between a keep and a mulligan. You cast it turn 2, trying to look for Wasteland against an Ursa Saga. So you can call it a tutor, but it's more like a fraction of a tutor. It's a probability. It's sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. So you use them to try and get lucky. In some spots, sometimes you can hit the nuts, like brainstorm into 2 things you need, exactly the land you need, exactly the threat you need. Sometimes you brick and look like a fool. That's just part of what the card does. So deck building wise, it's consistency. And then in game, it's hiring the probability of something happening that you want to have happening, right? But then with that being said, if you have good stuff to do, I just like playing my cards out and then playing my cantrips in the end, right? I want to impact the board a lot in modern day Magic. Otherwise, can easily fall behind, and you can sit there and cast Potters all day, but if the opponent is like crushing you with some stuff, then you need to do something else, right?
Yeah, in the pre-talk, we kind of talked about like combo brainstorming or pondering. So combo cantrips and control cantrips, because I'm currently striving around with Jeskai.
Yeah.
And I really hated pondering and brainstorming in Cephalid Breakfast. I couldn't play the card because it was not doing the thing I want. And I think with the biggest result size, like 7 remove spells in Jeskai, for example, it's much more likely that I get the cards that I want than to search for a specific combo piece. Do you have any?
Yeah, so it's a lot about how you categorize those cards. So let's say you're digging for one of your show and tells or your sneak attacks, right? That could be something that Ponder would do in Sneak and Show. Then at that point you have 8 hits, right? You just talked about 7 removal spells. So and even a card like Stock Up would be a good hit most of the time. A lot of these cards are in the deck to make sure that you do your thing as regular as possible. But of course you can miss, right? So I would say cantrips are more impactful in combo, but they're more like, you're less likely to get, let's say, disappointed out of a fair deck. So it's just, I think it's a matter of your temperament as a player as well. Do you want to high roll and find the Infernal Tutor on the shuffle, ponder, draw the 1 card, or do you just want to ponder to make sure you make your 3rd land drop so you can play a Narset? It's 2 different ways of life, right?
Yeah.
I can totally see this from a different perspective, because as I'm more of a combo guy.
Yeah. What kind of combo do you like, Will?
Everything that's basically storm or graveyard based.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I remember playing a little bit of Red Green Belcher back in the day. Is that in your range?
No. No.
Okay, fair.
It's mostly basically ANT, or I toyed around with Oops. Yeah, nowadays Oops. Back in the day it was Dredge and then Hogak, which
I love that deck. I played that with the Altar.
Yeah,
I have some version of that deck. I was chewing up Delver at that point. That was cool. That was
me too. Also Control.
Yes, Blue deck. Thank you very much.
was a great time.
Yeah,
and I also toyed around with making combo stylish Arclight Phoenix decks.
Ooh, there's a guy online called Screenwriter New York.
Yeah.
That guy, I'm always fascinated by his decks, and it's just, should I give it a go? No, I have a reputation to think about. I always say to myself.
I mean, you certainly should give it a go. It's not good anymore. I don't want to say it's not great anymore because it was never, but it was fun for a long time.
Let's keep in touch about that, because if there's someday a focus away from the graveyard and legacy, then it's our time to pounce. So let's keep that in the back pocket, and we'll be ready.
Oh, for sure. And in that time, I really learned to love my combo brainstorms, because I always had the saying from an old friend of mine who was a Storm aficionado, and he always said, in combo there's only mana, business, and protection, and you divide all those cards in the deck in these three categories.
Yeah, perfect.
And if you cast a brainstorm and you're looking for protection, then it's easy. You have a lot of protection spells, or you have a lot of mana spells.
Or you know what you're looking for.
You know what you're looking for, and it's not a tutor, and I want to hit an infernal tutor. I want to hit business, like I want to find another ponder, want to find another brainstorm, want to find a tutor, and suddenly you have 20 cards to choose from.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually something I've heard before. What did you say? It was, you know what you're looking for? I think that's exactly that is what scares people about playing tempo, because that's the hard part. What are you looking for?
Yeah,
and that's like a big boy question to answer, right? But with those decks you're describing here, it's going to be more defined what you're looking for. So that makes it, I'm going to say, more smooth to play, and you just have to like learn how to maximize how far you're digging. Is it going to be threat or mana that's going to be the choke point? What kind of defense does the opponent have? So it's very well defined compared to tempo, which is like so unique games you get to play, right? So it's just two different ways of enjoying Magic. And yeah, I'm lucky. I love both. I play a lot of combo, especially in Vintage. And yes, exactly, like solving those puzzles. That's a rush. I love that as well.
Yes, solving puzzles is awesome.
No, I can relate to that. I'm kind of in the same category. I'm also either combo or tempo. Control, one big part of that is, of course, timing. We talked about this. I cannot get behind that. I can never win a paper match with control because I just cannot finish.
Right.
This is a big aspect. So that's a big no-no for me.
Yeah, and I'm either combo or mid-range. I can't pick up tempo. I can't pick up control. It doesn't work.
Maybe I have your categories then.
Yeah, that's cool. But I usually tell people when they talk, oh, maybe I should learn tempo, or maybe I should learn combo. It's like a doctor trying to think about if you should also learn how to become a carpenter. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's just you chose what you liked, right? So I don't think people should think about that like, oh, the glass is half empty. And like, no, you're playing what you're most passionate about. You're trying to become an expert, and you watch through that lens, like combo lens or tempo lens, and it doesn't have to change. It's good to stay true to what you were drawn to begin with.
That's also true.
Maybe then I think this also can be maybe one controversial topic is, I think, highly discussed a lot. Maybe for the end. There is this famous article in Magic, which is called "Who is the Beatdown?"
Yeah,
I think it's from Mike Flores.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very old, often considered one of the most important pieces of articles or like theories ever created. Yeah. Super short, but very crisp to the point. And maybe let's have just short to discuss here, because you mentioned you change based on your opponent, your deck building decisions, maybe even sideboarding, what your opponent is doing. How do you apply this knowledge, or do you actually apply this at all? With Beatdown.
Yeah, this is a great question. So it has everything to do with the match at hand. So at any given point, you can turn the corner. So back in Modern 12 years ago when I played, it was like, I'm playing Jeskai Control. They shocked themselves 3 times. I'll go Bolt, Snapcaster Bolt with my Jeskai Control at the end of turn. Like, this is me flipping the table, kind of, right? These days, it could be something like, I don't know, kill some creature, slam a Murktide, attack 3 times, and your control deck beats a Delver deck like that way. Or let's say we both have a Voidwalker, so do I want to block or do I want to attack? Like, who's, in this exact game, who's the beatdown? So I think I just apply it to any game I play, no matter if it's a Dimir Tempo Mirror match or it's Mono Red Prison versus Delver. Like, that all frequently changes who's trying to close out who and who's trying to prolong the game. So I think it's much better to be aware of if somebody misses a land drop, you want to like press your advantage. If you double mulliganed, you need to take more risk. If the opponent double mulliganed, you need to play like solid 1-for-1 magic and you will emerge victorious. So frequently I'll be the control deck with a Delver deck and I'll try and end my opponent with a slower deck, like clocking them. So I just want you to use that as like good theory, but we can't predetermine who's that to be. It has to do with the unique game at hand. So keep it in mind and see what the game tells you.
Everything matters, basically.
Yeah, well, it basically just means that to me it is kind of true, but it's not matchup. Let's say you cannot sculpt it over a matchup, or let's say if you put deck A versus deck B, but you have to reconsider it in a lot of different situations depending on what's coming up. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if your opponent has multiple Barrogoyfs suddenly, for example, and has more threats, you might not be the so seeking for the long game in a mirror or whatever, if you know that, or for example, like that. I guess knowing that or applying that and adjusting your strategy is crucial.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes I give the players I work with like some homework of, when we meet next week, I want you to bring 2 examples where you played against the conventional wisdom, or it went against how you initially thought it would be. Like, let's say you prepare and this is how the things lined up. And then they bring me some examples of them kind of breaking those rules. And it's a good way to train your brain as well. Like, I had a guy who won an RCQ because he Nile spellbombed his own graveyard to grow Murktide. Like, but he played that card to beat graveyard decks in Modern, right? But then all of a sudden, it just opened his brain to think about like that in a different way. So it's all about creativity, Magic. It's about creativity and then applying it fast enough to matter in a game and not remember it, 2 minutes after or after the game. Oh, I could have done this. You need to practice a lot. And then once you train your brain enough, you'll have it in the top of the toolbox instead of in the bottom of the toolbox.
Awesome.
Exactly. So I think with that, this covers basically all of the important things. Do you actually have something to add?
No?
Anything else?
Not really, because my mind is just so full blown right now that with all the information it receives.
Is that a good thing?
That's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah. I like to talk a lot. So I guess thank you.
That is awesome.
Thank you for that platform. And yeah, it was cool. It was very cool.
Absolutely. So at the end, maybe just to highlight once more, if you want to have more of that, it's I guess very, very nice to highlight that you have your Metafy, you have your Discord, your YouTube channels, and you can also provide coaching so that people can actually also have 1-by-1 sessions, I guess, and get more of that good theory and focusing on what matters, kind of everything matters approach
Yeah, certainly. That's kind of what I provide. I want people to have fun with the game. I want them to have fun growing better. Losses are part of it, and then hopefully there's some cool things waiting after all the hard work. So I try and make the process fun, both for myself and everybody that I work with.
Awesome. I would say this has been one fantastic 100th episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm honored about that one. That was you didn't have to do that, but I was of course happily accept the invitation. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome.
Just one last question: Is there any big tournament that you're actually preparing for right now, or?
Yeah. So at the time of this recording, on Sunday there's a Legacy Showcase. So I'm preparing for that. It's pretty interesting place for the format. Lots of stuff going on. I'll have to look at some results, and there's a lot of reactions in the community right now. So what does that mean for people's deck choice when everything really matters? So I'm gonna be working on that, and but other than that, I have some commentator jobs in the calendar. I'm going to Eternal Weekend Italy, so I might see you guys there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's also kind of preparation, right? Just in a little bit of in a different way. So I have plenty of cool stuff on my calendar.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I just want to point in one question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
When you prepare for any big commentator's jobs,
Mm-hmm.
how do you prepare yourself for the meta? I mean, you do all your weekly meta talks on your YouTube. Do you do something extra as well?
Yeah, I do that a lot. I need to be maybe not an expert, but I need to be able to communicate about all decks that I expect to see, right? So I take great pride in that. Then I also do work with whoever my partner is. We would have like certain ways to set each other up, or certain signals, or certain signs, or letting the other guy know if we have some blind spots that we don't want to get put on the spot, right? So there's a lot of synergy when it comes to that, and synergy with production as well. And then just knowing what's going on in Legacy and having a good way to present that. But I think that comes pretty naturally with how I view the game. I don't care if people are playing mono red burn or mono blue control. It's I'm excited about all kinds of strategies. So I think it's at that point it's a bit easier for me. So I just try and think about cool storylines like, oh yeah, this guy was like pioneering the deck, and 6 months ago he was the first one to put this in the deck, and now everybody's copying that, and he's a genius. And try and build some storylines there. So it's a lot about combining knowledge with entertainment. I think that's the best way to put it.
I really love your thinking about how do I say this now? Being excited about every deck that anyone can face. I think that we are a little bit of lacking at the moment in the meta to be really excited about brews, being excited about the deck their opponent is bringing.
Yeah, exactly. It's when I get up in the morning, I can choose to put negative stuff into the world. I can choose to put positive stuff into the world. That is an active choice. And if you're not thinking about it, you can start thinking about it. Nobody's preventing anybody from doing that. It's not like this is a card game, right? And sometimes you don't get your wish, and sometimes you do. It's that's life, right? So yeah, I wish people would talk a bit more nicely to each other and be a bit more excited about, the other guy's success or whatever. And then I think that will spiral, just like the opposite of that spirals at the moment. So probably my last message here, that choose the positivity, and it will certainly be a fun place. And also for the years to come, we all want this to keep existing, right? So let's all invest and do our part.
I think that was the best closing verse that we have ever had on this show.
Enough said. We close it down. Thank you very much, Andreas, for being here.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, thank you so much.